We finally made it. The very first BookTube video. Well, I have mixed feelings about this, but I'm not sure how to move from here on out. But let's just see what. Let's just see where this goes. So, hey everyone, thank you for watching Gravity's Random. I am Robin. Nice to meet you. And before I proceed to what appears to be a very unholy but glorious book haul of 26 titles I've acquired from May to June, or was it May to July? Or no, May to August rather. I would like to introduce myself first, since this is my very first BookTube video. Now, as you all know, or as you may not know, I started, um, well, started this channel actually a few years ago, but the content here is a bit different. In that is a series of experimental art projects of mine, so to speak, or some random shock video. Yeah, random shock videos of not 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 the gory kind, but just you know, the type of me like smashing a camera and stuff like that. But anyhow, uh, this channel's been around for years now, and I've finally gotten around to making BookTube content just because I wanted to join in the big C. It is the big conversation around literature, everything that makes great reading, what people have to say about this work or that work, you know, the works. And seeing those people made me want to try my hand at this whole thing that they call BookTube. So earlier in my late high school was when I became more open. I think, to the idea of literature being this great force that compels one to understand the world and all its mysteries. And I've really been inspired by, for example, Leaf by Leaf. He's one of my foremost inspirations in reading, as well as Paper Bird. Yeah, those two. God, those two have been my greatest inspirations. Now, so from here on out, I'll try to post I'll try to post about, let's say, once or twice a month. And well, and if I have some exciting book news or anything, I'd also post it here. Well, so basically, this channel is, well, from the tagline you see, books, writing, and everything in between. Now, I am a writer. I've written some books when I was in my late teens. I started writing when I was 17, but then and it just blossomed into this career of that I haven't thought would take off as it did now. Like it's funny how I just got I started writing because of a what was it um give me a moment to think. So yeah, I started writing because of senior high project, let's say. So we had this writing exercise, and it was a creative writing class. Okay, I have to add, it was a creative writing class, and we were tasked to write about a story. If you hear some screaming in the background, I'm not sure that I'm not sure you're gonna hear. But yeah, if you hear some random screaming in the background, it's just my sister. So yeah, don't mind. She's freaking out about something. But anyway, so I started writing when it was when I was in senior high, which is grade 11, and I we had this writing exercise, and I thought of an idea that eventually became the first part of a book, my first book, which was written under a pseudonym. And from there, yeah, it became, yeah, hmm, like it turned to be a glorious detour. Yeah, oh my, what is it? Two novels? No, yeah, two novels, two novellas, a short story collection, and counting. God, let's just say counting, because I'm working on, I'm working on something right now, and um I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, it's gonna be something else, unlike anything I've ever imagined I could write. But anyway, now let's go to these books right now, and as I've said, 26 titles, and they have been acquired from May until August. Yeah. I earlier this year I made a book haul post on Instagram. Well, some of you may come from Instagram, but I don't. So I made a first post in Instagram about my book haul, and it was and comparing these two right now, I think this is a bit, this is way too big. Like, oh my god, like I can't imagine, like I'd be so, oh god, yeah. But without further ado, here are the titles that I have acquired since May to August. Okay, so this book haul will be categorized into two. That is Filipiniana, works written by Filipino authors in Filipino, English, and other languages inside the Philippines. And second would be, of course, the international file, which is books everywhere else. Okay, so the first book I have here is let's see. Aha. So we are going to start with the international file first, and I have four Volmans right here, and they've been chance finds, so to speak, because in the Philippines, okay, yeah, in the Philippines, you barely get any Volman around, and it's quite a difficult thing to do, finding Volmans around. So I've had to search high and low for these, and I found them on Facebook and Carousel. And this other Volman, which I found, which I had to get from Amazon, because I just found it. That item's been on my cart for a long time, and it just had a massive sale, so I figured that was the perfect time to get this Volman. But anyway, so the first Volman I have here is the Atlas by William Ball. So the Atlas is, of course, it is a series of short stories set in different geographic locales that eventually turn out to be it's a very kaleidoscopic, so I've heard, kaleidoscopic collection. And I don't know about you, but I kind of get vibes of let's say Europe Central, or I could be wrong, but since it's Europe Central is also short stories, and they're also very kaleidoscopic, very diverse in tone, and yeah. Well, this book I haven't yet read, but I hope to get into this very soon. Well, as you can see, I have a whole lot of volumes in the background, and from that pile, from that shelf, from these two shelves over here, I have only read the Ice Shirt Volume 1 of the Seven Dreams sequence, and Europe Central, of course. That's the very first Volman I've read, and so far my very favorite Volman. And to have this in my collection is wild. Since, as I've said, you barely get to find any Volman around here, and he is very hard to track down in the Philippines. So, let me read the description. Behold our world as seen from a very unconventional writer's outer space. See it turn in all its busy squalor, violence, and beauty, swarming with lives and deaths portrayed in miniature by 53 interconnected stories. In the Atlas, William T. Volman presents his vision of our planet at the cusp, with old conflicts smoldering on and new miseries and estrangements multiplying. Bosnia, Phnom Penh, Jerusalem, New York, Mogadishu, the Arctic, a bazaar of fortune tellers in Burma, a robber-infested disco in Madagascar. Against these backdrops, Volman's tales live their own various and wildly different lives, from fable to surrealistic portrait to reportage. Above all, it is the human beings in this book who engage us. The old walrus hunter, the crack-addicted prostitute whose children have been taken away from her, the boxer brought in to lose, the drunken gypsy, and from time to time, of course, the author himself. Through their eyes, Volman writes of memory, oppression, loneliness, war, the thrill of the alien, and the infinitely precious pain of love. Arranged as a huge thematic palindrome, the Atlas showcases Volman's ability to build strange structures, sonnets composed of stories instead of words. It confirms his growing reputation as a writer whose books, quote-unquote, tower over the work of his contemporaries by virtue of their enormous range, huge ambition, stylistic daring, wide learning, audacious innovation, and sardonic wit, as per the Washington Post book world. Now, well, it is going to be a very phenomenal read. I can already say that. So, that is The Atlas by William T. Volman. And here we have a 2-volume set. Well, the Carbon Ideologies set. And I have volume 1 and 2 right here, which is No Immediate Danger, then No Good Alternative. And funny, because I found this in a Facebook shop. One of the most well-regarded Facebook shops here in the Philippines, and no one saw it, no one appeared to have seen it, and I just figured, okay, why the heck not? So I grabbed them, and here they are, and for a reasonable sum too, for 2 hardcovers of this size, because if we were to get these individually on, let's say, Amazon, it would be like $20-$30 each, and it would be a heck of a lot more expensive, and I found these at a very reasonable bundle price, so I figured why not. And these books have been on my radar for a long time because they are essentially non-fiction about what the world has come to, what our late stage capitalist world has come to, and basically it's a non-fiction about climate change, about various environmental issues of such titanic scale. And to think that Volman originally intended this to be one massive volume, but then the publishers were like, no, we can't do that. So they came up with the next best thing, is to publish it in 2 parts. So basically, this is a non-fiction about... He lays out the various causes of climate change and global warming and all of that, and he also goes into, I believe, he also went to the Fukushima nuclear power plant, like sometime after the Tohoku, the Japanese earthquake of 2011 hit, and he had he just went around Gonzo style interviewing scientists, people he met on the street, like asking them their opinions about, oh, what do you think of this or that issue. And I think he also had a I think also and an outgrowth, I think, of that experience also inspired one other fiction, no, one other non-fiction he did called Into the Forbidden Zone, which is his foray into Fukushima after the earthquake. Over, yeah, and yeah, I'm looking forward to reading these. I don't know too much about them, but so I've heard that the beginning of this book is essentially a what if scenario. Like, what if this whole book were to be a kind of manifesto, like found by someone living in a post-apocalyptic world, and they discover the words Volman, and Volman was like warning them about, or warning, equal parts warning and reminiscing about what his past was like and what the future may have been at that time that the hypothetical post-apocalyptic stranger was reading. So yeah, very excited to get into these when I can. So and finally we have the elusive Volman that took me quite a while to find, and it is his debut novel, You Bright and Risen Angels. Now, this book has been on my radar again. Of course, who wouldn't be? Volman is always on my radar. Well, I am quite speechless when I found this on Amazon. It was originally at a very, oh god, like the price for someone like me who was still out of university and still trying to find a job. Well, let's just say it wasn't very friendly, the price. But then when it got on this massive sale, I had to get it. I had to get it because it's a Volman. It's a first edition Volman. It's the first edition, first follow the flag edition, if you will, because it's a U.S. edition published by Athenium Press. And this is, of course, one of the most I don't see anyone talk about this much apart from, let's say, Life on Books, because I follow Life on Books a lot, and I especially am intrigued by this beast right here. Look at this! Look at this! Yeah, it's glorious. Now, so essentially, this book caught my eye because its premise is about this guy who essentially becomes a traitor to his human. This guy who abandons his race and joins an army of bugs in the fight against capitalist overlords, and it just, oh god, very interesting premise for a book like this, and it's been compared favorably to Pynchon, which is always a good sign, and it also talks about the history of electricity. Yeah, this is a wild round right here, and there's a mention of from, like, I flipped through this book several times before when I got this, and I could see Volman use a kind of a kind of made up. Look at this. Look at this. It's one of the coolest author notes I've seen. It seems to be a made up a bug script, so to speak. And oh my god, look at this. This book was written in urine, lime, and vitriol under circumstances of hunger and death. For all you bright and risen angels of brimstone and sulfur. Oh my god, okay. Yeah, I have to stop myself right there. But essentially, this book is a postmodern triumph. It is one of the Volmans I look very much forward to reading. If I could, maybe next year, because this year I'm trying to try to complete all the Volmans, the fiction, before I proceed to reading them any further, because I have a project. I have a personal project in mind, where I read all of Volman's fiction, and hopefully I make a video about that very soon as I complete my reading of Volman. But yeah, so those were the first 4 books, basically, all Volmans, and the next one is A Naked Singularity by Sergio de la Cava. Now, look at this cover. It's a groovy misprint. Like, I've seen someone on Instagram with the same edition, and they were like, "Oh, it looks like a groove," and I was like, "Oh, look, it's a very groovy misprint." Like, I think this is a very cool. I mean, for all its flaws, I mean, it still looks very stylish. I mean, for a misprint. I mean, look at that. Look at that. You barely see the title anymore, but still, it's a very cool book. And essentially, this book was self-published, so I've heard, and it apparently got traction after a radio show picked it up. I'm not sure if it was NPR radio, and I'm not sure, but still, it got traction when it was published. No, so okay, it was self-published by the author on Ex Libris, and it didn't sell as much copies upon its initial release, but then it got picked up. A radio show talked about it, and apparently that's what inspired the University of Chicago Press to pick it up and issue it in a hardcover and subsequent paperbacks, and it eventually became this breakout hit that everyone's almost never heard of up until that point. And right now, this has a movie out, and I look forward to seeing it after reading this. And yeah, essentially, this book is about a public defender who's never lost a case once. And as the book moves along, we get this portrait of this public defender's cracking, like his world's coming to a head. Like he couldn't distinguish reality from his hallucinations and stuff like that. And there's a lot more shenanigans apparently. So I've heard from Life on Books that is very very Pitchonian. Like when I first flipped through this, I'm getting the sense of this could have been very much inspired by the Recognitions, or maybe J.R. Gaddis, and I also get hints of Pynchon from this scanning. Yeah. So again, this is another one I haven't read, and I very much look forward to reading this. And another book I have right here is a book by Mo Yan called Life and Death Are Wearing Me Out. And this book got to my radar because I've also been I've been on an ongoing lifetime quest to acquire and read as many Nobel Prize in Literature laureates over the years. And when I saw this on Facebook, another shop, I figured I need to pick this up because it's a hardcover, and I couldn't pass up a good hardcover. And it's also got plastic wrapped around it, and it's been kept in very good condition. So I figured, why not? And this book intrigued me because of its premise. Again, it's about a farmer, a landowner who was reincarnated several times until he becomes this baby with a big head and who has a great memory and so forth. Like he he's a landowner who gets he gets isekai'd into the Chinese underworld, so to speak, and then he comes back as a okay, let's see. He comes back as an ox, and then a pig, and then a dog, and then a monkey, and then finally this boy who has a big head and has a very good gift for memory and language. So, and apparently this book is Mo Yan tries to lay out his exorcism of um, the Mao Zedong regime in this book, and I really am excited to find out what this book is going to, how this book is going to turn out, because I've heard great things about this book. Yeah. So that is Life and Death by Meow. Okay. Yeah. So, another Nobel laureate. Okay, I have several. I have two more Nobel laureates right here. But the next Nobel laureate I have is, of course, a very controversial one. This is Gunter Grass, and this is his debut, I believe, or this is the book that apparently got him the prize, and this is The Tin Drum. And another one, and it's another one of these very well-regarded works of post-war German fiction that I've been on the lookout for since I can't remember when, because I've been hearing great things about this, but then again the author is a bit contentious right now. His status in the literary world is a bit contentious, seeing as he is he's got some Nazi ties, but I want to give this a read anyhow, and just to see how big its influence has been on subsequent works of post-war fiction around the time this was published. And apparently it's a trilogy. It's called this is volume 1 of a series known as the Danzig trilogy, and volume 2 and 3 are Cat and Mouse and The Dog Years, and those are ones I hopefully I'm gonna find those soon. But for now, I just found this. I just got this standalone volume 1 edition, and apparently it's let me read part of the blurb over here in the dust jacket. The greatest German novel since the end of World War II, The Tin Drum is the autobiography of Oskar Matzerath. 30 years old, detained in a mental hospital, convicted of a murder he did not commit. On the day of his 3rd birthday, Oskar had declared, resolved, and determined to stop right there, remain as I was, stay the same size, cling to the same attire, striped pullover and patent leather shoes. That same day, Oskar receives his first tin drum, and from then on, it is the means of his expression, allowing him to draw forth memories from the past as well as judgments about the horrors, injustices, and eccentricities he observes through the long nightmare of the Nazi era. As that era ebbs bloodily away, as drum succeeds drum, Oskar participates in the German post-war economic miracle, working variously in the black market as an artist model in a troupe of traveling musicians. With the onset of affluence and fame, Oskar decides to grow a few inches, only to develop a humpback. But despite his newfound status and stature, Oskar remains haunted by the deaths of his parents, afflicted by his responsibility for past sins, and so assumes guilt for a murder he did not commit, as an act of atonement and an opportunity to find consolation. Okay, so there's more in the back. The rhythms of Oskar's drums are intricate and insistent, and they lead us, often by way of shocking fantasies, through the dark forest of German history. Through Oskar's piercing outspoken voice and deformed little figure, through the imaginative distortion and exaggeration of historical experience, a pathetically hilarious yet startlingly true portrayal of the human situation comes into view. So that is incredible stuff right there. And apparently it's a... I'm not sure if I should call this magical realism, but I've heard somewhere that it could be magical realism, or if not, a very hyper realist portrait, so to speak. But yeah, this is the Tin Drum by Gunther Grass. And the last Nobel laureate I have right here is Kazuo Ishiguro's um, work, his latest offering, and this is called "The Summer We Crossed Europe in the Rain." Basically, it's a book of song lyrics by Ishiguro for Stacey Kent, and then Stacey Kent's husband Jim Tomlinson had set this to music. And I've listened to a few tracks on her album, inspired by this book of song lyrics, and I found it very chill, very relaxing. And I hope to listen to more of those songs down the line. But yeah, this is essentially a book of 16 song lyrics by Ishiguro that he had written for Stacey Kent. And all throughout the book, we have pictures as well. I mean, look at this. Not sure. Yeah, so we have images right here to complement the song lyrics. And of course, in signature Kazuo Ishiguro style, they often contain notes of hopeless resignation and some parts like bittersweet realizations as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to reading this Ishiguro. And yeah, I've since collected all of his works, and this is the last piece, and I am very glad I found this year to round out my Ishiguro book. So yeah, this is The Summer We Crossed Europe in the Rain. And now we have another one right here, which is Hopscotch by Julio Cortázar. So Hopscotch is essentially an experimental novel by Cortázar in that you have 3 different ways of reading it. No, wait, let me check. Yeah. No, you have 2 different ways of reading this. So the first way of reading is reading it is as if you were reading a normal book, just start to finish. No, actually, you just have to stop somewhere. Yeah, here. You need to stop up until 299 for the first way, and then for the second way, you could of course follow this diagram right here, just to read in this specific order of chapters, as if you were playing a hopscotch game and that you're to jump around chapters. And this book is a very well-regarded, well-acclaimed one, and it's been on my radar for very long. And to have found this copy at a reasonable price, this vintage copy, which is out of print and at a reasonable price, I just couldn't pass it up. So yeah, very much looking forward to reading this. Hopefully as soon as I can. So yeah, as soon as I can. And I do hope to find more of Cortázar, because he's another author. This is difficult to find here. And yeah, that's enough. So yeah, this is Hopscotch by Julio Cortázar. And we have a Penguin Black Classic right here, which is The Death of Ivan Ilyich, and by Leo Tolstoy. And this is a book that's very memorable for me, that we had a book club, our book club in my book club had a discussion about this book. And then we had our different interpretations of it. We talked over the many social, economic, political, psychological, spiritual implications of this slim novella. And when I first read this, I couldn't the start was a slow one, but then as I finished the book, I just had to put it down as I was already sobbing in the corner, and I just had to take a few moments to think because this book, this book hit like a brick when it was over, and I just had to stop, and I just had to say, what the heck did I just read? Like it's such a singular yet very powerful reading experience reading this. And you also have to check out Ikiru by Akira Kurosawa, because Ikiru was inspired by this novella right here. But the content the content of that movie is slightly different from this, of course, because it's the like it was very open, like the interpretation, like Kurosawa's interpretation of this novella was very, of course, Japanese, like seeing as he had to transplant the story into a Japanese context. But this this and the Kurosawa movie are very highly recommended. I both sobbed in both of them, and yeah, they are very very memorable. So, The Death of Ivan Ilyich. And now we have this weird little book called. Well, actually, it's a book. It's two books in one, and it's by Lucian of Samosata. Lucian of Samosata, and the first half of this is called True Story, and then the second half is called Lucius or the S. Now, True Story is um, True Story. This is a book that I found by chance because I've heard about this book from a YouTuber, another YouTuber called Austin McConnell, and he made a video talking about True Story in that it purports to be one of the earliest, if not the first, work of science fiction ever published, and it was written in. It was written in. Uh, Written very early on. This is very, like, for a sci-fi story of this kind, written in during Greek during the Greek times. It's very, like, the concept of it intrigued me, and then I had to, as I was looking up copies of this of the book on Amazon and stuff, and I couldn't find it for a reasonable price, so I kind of put it on the back burner until I found this by chance, and I figured this was the perfect time to get it because this book is apparently it starts off with the premise of this like narrate. There's this narrator right here, and he mentions, like, from here on out, don't believe a word that I say, and he, like, it's basically a satire of those stories, those unbelievable stories that were doing the rounds on Greek society back in the day. Like, let's say, like, for example, like Herodotus histories could be included, could be lumped in that category because, like, while Herodotus Herodotus histories purports to be fact, there are clearly some sections in which it is very very clearly made up. Like, for example, you had dog-headed people in Ceylon or something like that. So yeah, this book is a mockery or a satire of those tropes or those themes and those true accounts that purport to be fact but are essentially myth rolled into reported. So yeah, and this contains one of the earliest scenes of like intergalactic warfare, so to speak. So yeah, very interested. And this book, Lucius RDS, is again, it's published before Apuleius, the Golden Ass. So yeah, it's basically, this purports to be the source material for that story by Apuleius, and it's also another work that I am intrigued by. So yeah, this is True Story and Lucius RDS. And now we have a Murakami. And as you can see from my shelf up on top, To say that I am a Murakami fan is an understatement. I mean, he has been very he's been a gateway author for me, and he just has a way with words. Like, well, I've since read many other more interesting and more impressive authors than Murakami, but still, the influence that he has had earlier in my reading life has been phenomenal, and I thank him for that, for pushing, for showing me the way. And this is a book called "End of the World in Hardboiled Wonderland." Here it is. And the reason I got this again is because this is actually a new translation by J. Rubin, and yeah, apparently it's well, of course, there's the version we all know, which is Hardboiled Wonderland and the End of the World, but apparently this version is the more complete one because remove chapters that have been like that have been excised from the original publication by in the 80s has been um, returned to this book, so it's considerably longer. And Murakami has stated in his intro that he feels that this book has to be retranslated because, well, he had the new book out which is called The City and Its Uncertain Walls, and that book is essentially a spiritual well, you could say it's been a long awaited sequel to this first book, End of the World and Hardboiled Wonderland. And Murakami saw a need to have this retranslated so that readers could see how the story played out from the town up until town in the city and its certain walls. And of course, like, I couldn't pass this up when I saw this. Like, I had to special order this on a Fully Book, which is one of the Philippines' foremost book chains here. And I waited for a while before this copy came. About a month later, and I got it on the spot when it came. And so I am very interested to see how this book has changed from the original Alfred Birnbaum translation, because apparently Alfred Birnbaum's voice is very not Murakami, and that J. Rubin's translations are very close to what Murakami's Japanese voice is, apparently. So I really want to see how this book is, like, how Rubin translated this book, and how he did justice to the unabridged, the fully unabridged of the Japanese. So that is End of the World and Hardboiled Wonderland by Murakami. Alright, so now we're back, and as you can see, it's already dark out. And yeah, as I was recording, like, my parents were at home already, and I had to do a lot of stuff first before I got back here. So here we are again. Now, where was I? Ah, yeah. Kangaroo Notebook by Kobuabi. So, as I've said before, I found a copy of this before, and I got it by chance because I wanted to give it to my girlfriend who wanted to read it since she was a big Kobabe fan. And yeah, when this came up, again, I had to get it for myself because I was also intrigued by the premise of this when I heard it from my girlfriend. So, apparently, this is the last novel that Abe wrote before he died in 1993. And it is about this guy who woke to discover, in a Kafka fashion, of course, the way the metamorphosis and everything started. So, this man apparently wakes up one day and discovers that his legs are growing radish sprouts. And this gives him the ability to snack on himself. And that is only the beginning, because this book is apparently so much more. And he finds himself from a hospital bed to the very shores of hell. That's one thing. Another thing is he encounters a child demon. a martial arts American, a kind of Chuck Norris like martial arts expert, and a nurse who's trying to collect enough blood to win the Dracula's daughter medal. Wild stuff. So yeah, this is a book that I hope to buddy read with my girlfriend sometime soon if we are able to. And yeah, I really think I should have read more Kobo Abe before I pick this up. So yeah, Kangaroo Notebook, Kobo Abe. And we have another one here, which is The Flanders Road again. Again, Nobel Prize laureate. And this one's by Claude Simon. And I picked this up before I've seen the Life on Books episode in which Tony talked about how reading this book has been such a singular experience, and that he had tried to, like at first he didn't get parts of it, but then he'd reread, and now, like it's very powerful stuff, and it's based on Claude Simon's experiences during World War II, apparently, and in which he witnesses one of his his captain shot off his horse, and he revisits this theme quite a lot apparently in his fiction. And it's this experience that informs the rest of this book, that moves in a lava flow of prose, moving in and out of his experience upon witnessing that captain shot of a horse. And this is a book that's been pushed up on my TBR because of that episode on Life on Books, and I had to thank Tony for inspiring me to finally consider bumping this up in my TBR. And so yeah, I can't wait to sink into this. And it's apparently written. I want to say it reminds me of Saramago a bit because of the sentences and all that. You look at this long paragraph-length sentences that are reminiscent of Jose Saramago, and this is apparently this is written in the nouvelle roman style, which is in which Simon was very famous for the nouvelle roman style, and this is one of the works that paved the way for that style. So I'd like to think. So yeah, this is The Flanders Road by Claude Simon. And we have a book here that I've no idea about, but I picked it up anyway because I found it to be interesting. But I really don't know too much about this, and that is Rudolph by Marian Pankowski. And the only thing I know about this is that it's it's Eastern European for one, and that it is of course modernist. So any work of modernism that comes into my radar, I have to get, because I'm very interested in modernism after coming across Ulysses. That's when the rabbit hole started for me. So yeah. But this one, have any of you read this? And if so, what do you think about it? And should I consider keeping it? Because this looks like a very interesting book from the language here. It is very stream of consciousness from what I've seen so far. Like as I'm flipping it right now, yeah, very stream of consciousness. So yeah. I'm very much looking forward to hearing about what you think of this, because I really have no idea what this is about. And yeah, this is Rudolph by Marian Pankowski. And then we have a work of fiction, short stories by Gerald Murnane, called Stream System. And this is a very, very chance find again, because I've been searching through this on our Philippine equivalent of Amazon, which is Shopee. So yeah, I've been looking at I've been looking through Shopee for this like I've been randomly searched up Murnane on Shopee, and for some reason I found this, and it's funny because the listing looks suspicious, like it was just a picture and nothing more. And then I've seen the description. It also kind of looked sketchy because it was just the blurb itself of the book, and then like publisher's info, book size, and all that. And at first I was hesitant, but then I saw the ratings of the shop, and apparently it was legit. Like most of the stuff they sold was legit. So I ended up biting the bullet, and here we are. And this is everything that I hoped for, and I was very happy to find it at a discount price. So this book is apparently collected short fiction of Gerard Murnane, and let me read the back part for you. While the Australian master Gerard Murnane is largely known for his novel-length fictions, his short stories stand among the most brilliant and idiosyncratic uses of the form since Borges, Calvino, and Nabokov. Measured, comic, obscene, and crystalline, they range from the haunting Land Deal, which imagines the colonization of Australia and the ultimate vengeance of indigenous people as a series of nested dreams, to Fingerweb, which tells a quietly terrifying fractal tale of the scars of war and the roots of misogyny, to The Interior of Galdine, which finds its anxious protagonist stranded beyond the limits of fiction itself. With most of the stories in the stream system never before available to readers in this hemisphere, this career-spanning collection makes for an ideal entry point into the work of one of contemporary literature's greatest magicians. No one else writes like Gerard Murnane, and there are few other authors alive who are capable of changing how and why we read. So, interesting stuff. And again, another book that's been bumped up considerably higher in my TBR after I've listened to a Beyond Zero podcast episode featuring Dustin Illingworth, and he talks about his love for Gerard Murnane, and he talks about how he feels as if he is not yet ready to review or to make a critical essay about Murnane unless he's reread his work about 9 or 10 times, around that number. So yeah, again, okay, side note, like Beyond Zero, amazing podcast. You have to support. You have to, like, if you haven't already, go check them out because they have some of the most brilliant interviews, and the interludes are funny as well because they have like so much literary jokes in them. And like my favorite interlude in particular was one in George Salas' interview, in which there's a test of the there's this cutaway of like there's this commercial break of Kendrick Lamar reciting pages of Test of the Herbervilles, and yeah, it was very funny, and I love it so much. So yeah, quick tangent over. So yeah, Murnane, I am very interested to see what he has to offer, and I am also interested in, well, getting more of his stuff. And I am currently, I am very interested in looking for or finding the Plains, which is very hard to find now because it is out of print, or not out of print, or rather, it is very much unavailable here in the Philippines. Or yeah, and apparently a first edition. I've seen prices of the first edition on eBay and stuff like that, and it costs hundreds of dollars. And yeah, it's in this economy, well, one could dream. So yeah, Gerard Murnane's stream system. And here we have these next two books are gonna be ones I'm also not familiar of, but they've been gifted to me by a friend, one of my friends in college. So shout out to her, you know who you are. And so this first book is called medieval towns, Bruges, or um, rather, we go to the title page right here. It says "The Story of Bruges" by Ernest Gilliat Smith, illustrated by Edith Calvert and Herbert Railton, and it's been published in 1901. And I'm not sure if this is a first edition, but by the looks of it, it seems to be a later printing of it. Yeah, it is apparently a later printing. There's not much info on the copyrights page of it. But this is a book that I am very much intending to keep because it is a history of, essentially it's history of Bruges, medieval times up until, I'd like to say, let me check. So yeah, it's just an overview of Bruges, let's say. And I think I want to use this as reference material for if I ever get around to making a story set in Bruges or anywhere, or like when I reference material for a European story that has Bruges in it. I think I'd like to keep this for that scenario. So yeah, story of Bruges. And we have another one right here, which is it's a very beat up copy, but it's apparently title is the Brooding Wild by Ridgewall Cullen, which is published by Hodder and Stoughton, and it is a work of, like, I want to say it's a western, but then it's also got hints of frontier life in, I'd like to say, the Americas, but I'm not very sure. This is a case of this is a case of this has just fallen into my lap and I have no idea what it's about, similar to Rudolph. So, have you read this? And if you have, I want to know what you think, because this looks like a interesting one, like, for a western published in what 1900 early 1900s again. So yeah, this is what the frontispiece looks like. This is what the cover page looks like. So yeah, interesting stuff. So this is the Brooding Wild, and we are almost done with the international pile. Only have 3 books here. And the next book we have is Poor Things by Alasdair Gray. And this is a first American edition published by Harcourt Brace Jovanovich. Yeah. And this is apparently very hard to get now because it is worth hundreds of dollars from what I've seen on eBay and Amazon and other places that carry the first edition. And it's even more expensive to find the UK first edition of this because, again, since the movie by Yorgos Lanthimos dropped some years ago, prices of this book have skyrocketed. Prices of the first edition have skyrocketed. But it has been very welcome. A very welcoming sight to find this on a Facebook shop. And it is essentially, I'd like to say, a feminist reworking. Rather, it's like a feminist Frankenstein. In that, no, it's like a gender swap Frankenstein rather, because this is essentially a kind of twisted romance between a country doctor and this woman made from, again, body parts of various origins, who's been conglomerated into this bride, and then this country doctor falls in love with that woman, and as we move through the book, apparently that woman is also gains consciousness, like she gains a sense of self-awareness. Like she starts off as this unknowing, like dumb character who eventually realizes a lot of things about the world, and yeah, it is another one of those surreal novels that I am very interested in reading, especially since the movie's been out for a very long time and I still haven't seen it. And yeah, I have one other book by Alasdair Gray here, which is Janine, 1982 Janine. But yeah, that's the other Alasdair Gray that I have, which is also equally as interesting. But I've already made a post about it on IG, so yeah, it stays there. And this book is also, again, very beautiful in that it is been, look at that, it has been designed by Alasdair Gray, and there have been, okay, so it says work as if you live the early days of a better nation. So yeah, I have no idea how this relates to what is inside this book, but let us see. And of course, it is very heavily illustrated, as is the fashion in any Alasdair Gray book. And I am very much looking forward to reading this sometime soon. So, this has been 4 Things by Alasdair Gray. And okay, so these last 2 are kind of weird and niche, and they have an unexpected connection to a very tragic global event, which I am going to be elaborating on in a second. But yeah, these are 2 books for children, basically. So book 1, they're both called Reading Mastery 2, and this is Storybook 1 and Storybook 2. And it's interesting because I came across Storybook 1 when Vsauce talked about it, and he mentioned how this book has this book is very famous in that this was the book that George Bush has been reading at Emma E. Booker Elementary School to students, to a group of students when 9/11 happened. And as he was reading this very famous story called The Pet Goat, that's when he received, that's when his aide whispered into his ear, "Sir, a second plane has hit the second tower." So yeah, this is a very chilling yet unexpected, like, for a children's book to have such a massive connection to an event of global tragedy. It's very absurd how much this book has gotten, how much the value of this book has skyrocketed over the years. Like, the last I've checked, this book has been somewhere in the 50s to hundreds range in dollars all across the internet. And it's a very I have to say, it's a very grim reminder to those kids, especially who've been present during the reading of this, that evil could lurk in the unlikeliest of places. Like, evil reminds us of, or rather, evil springs up where you least expect it. And to think that this book would eventually have sinister connotations is very chilling for me. And of course, we have Storybook 2. And it's funny because I bought this as an accident, because I thought this was the book that I wanted to get. But then when I realized too late that oh my god, I messed up, this is Storybook 2. But then I figured, well, they look good together, because this is 1, this is 2, so I figured I'd just keep them. I think I'm gonna read these, but mostly they are here to be kept, for display purposes mainly. But I want to read these bit by bit, just to see what the fuss was all about when 9/11 happened. especially storybook 1. So yeah, this is Reading Mastery 2, Volume 1 and 2, Storybook 1 and 2. And that ends the international pile. Now, we have 5 books written by Filipino writers in English and Filipino. And I am going to start with the English first, the ones written in English by Filipino authors. So first we have My Sad Republic by Eric Gamalindo. And this is a book that's been, again, okay, this is running theme now. But if I say a book's been on my radar, it's really been on my radar. So yeah, this book has been on my radar for so long. The specific edition, because this is the first edition of this book when it came out in the let's see, what year did it come out? Yeah, it came out the year 2000. This book, and it's about it's loosely based on the true history of a guy called Papa Isyo, who led a peasant revolt in Negros for conditions, because he found the conditions in sugar plantations to be oppressive, and he waged a revolt so that his people could be heard. And this is a fictionalized account of that struggle in Negros, which is an island in right next to Panay. So some context, like Negros is right next to Panay, and Panay is an island which contains to the north Aklan, to the west it is Antique, or you spell it as Antique, and then below Aklan you have Capiz, and then below Capiz you have Iloilo. And I live in Iloilo City, the capital of Iloilo. So yeah, a bit of background knowledge for that, for international viewers. So yeah, this is a book that's been on my. This is a book that I am very interested in reading, especially since one of my friends in university made a thesis about this. One of the books in her thesis was this, and then she analyzed it through a specific literary lens. So yeah, good stuff. So this is My Sad Republic by Eric Gamalindo. And the second book here is a slim book of poetry by Andrea V. Tubig called Tonight We Slurp in Color. And this is a book that's been controversial, to say. To say that this book is controversial is an understatement, because when this book came out in 2017, it was immediately, not too long after it's been out, it's been pulled off of shelves because of its content, which is very transgressive, very... I don't even know if I could show you some of the pages, because it's a very graphic book. But yeah, the poems in this book are very transgressive, in the sense that she talks about her experiences as a sexually liberated woman, so to speak. And this is one of those books that I couldn't really talk about, but then if I gave it to you, I wouldn't say anything more, because I want you to figure out why this book is so tantalizing, and why this book is so profane yet so profound. So yeah, so we have Tonight We Slurp in Color by Andrea V. Tubig. This is again, highly interested and very... I just want to see what the fuss is all about. And now we have 3 books written by 3 books in Filipino by one author, which is he's one of my inspirations to some extent, and one of my friends in the online book space in the Philippines. And yeah, these are books by Alan Derain, He is primarily known for his works of Philippine urban legends, like specifically aswang, or what we call it's an umbrella term. Aswang is an umbrella term for Philippine creatures of mythology, and he is he's a very cool dude, very cool guy. I've been following his socials, and he posts a lot of interesting stuff about literature. He talks about Philippine publishing. He also talks about very eye-opening issues. So I really recommend you get into his work. And so I have 3 books by him here, as I aim to collect more therein for myself, of course. And the first book here is called Aswang Laut, which is roughly translated to sea monster. And it's apparently about it's a story about, it's a novel about the very first aswang, or monster. And he frames it as this kind of fable, I should say. But I haven't really. I've heard a lot of good things, great things about this novel, and I really can't wait to sink my teeth into this. And it's also very heavily illustrated, which is a good thing, which is a very interesting. As are most of his books. He's a very good. He also did the cover for this. Look at this, very quirky, very interesting. Um, and here are the samples of some of the images he has. Let's see if we can find under one. Let me see. Okay, here's another image. Okay. So yeah, he's a very brilliant writer illustrator. Reminds me of Alasdair Gray somewhat because of the way he yeah. And this is again, not I haven't read too much about what this book is about, and I welcome. I am very interested to see where this takes me. So it is Asong Laot by Alander In. Okay, so for the nth time, we have been interrupted. Well, yeah. So, anyways, okay, the second book of their ins that I have is Pamimintana sa Pintong Rosas Budget Hotel, or Window Gazing at Pintong Rosas Budget Hotel. It is, I should say, philosophical queer fiction in that this book purports to be a story about a college professor who likes to think about life while gazing through other worlds from the confines of his rooms in motels. And from that premise alone, it is very, should I say, yeah, very quiet, very contemplative. And there's it also explores his relation to so the main protagonist is called Fidel Sunfid, and this book talks about Fidel's interest in gazing through windows in the various motels that he visits, but then his favorite has to be Pintong Rosas Budget Hotel. And it also explores his relation to one of his students called Aaron, and how that turns out, I have no idea. Because I just heard about this because I tend to follow Ellen Darin a lot, and when I saw this book being announced, I was like, I think I need to get a copy of this, and finally did a few months ago. And rather, it's not window shopping, but it's window gazing, I think, that's a rough translation. Window gazing at Pintong Rosa's budget hotel. So yeah. So this is again another book that I have no idea about, and I really want to see where this takes me. So yeah, if you've read this or if you've read Aswang Laot, do tell me. Do tell me what you've thought about it. Like hopefully those two get translated into English, because they are gems of Philippine literature that deserve to have a wider audience outside the Philippines. And I've also heard that Aswang Laot has it has a German translation coming out. I'm not sure when, but a German translation is at work for that book. So yeah, I'm very excited for they're in for that. So yeah, this is Pamimintana sa Pintang Rosa's Budget Hotel. And the last book we have on this pile is a critical, like literary theory. It's a book of. It's a book that studies. Let's see. It's a book that I want to call it a study of the Noli and Elfili somewhat, but that's just the surface because like this book. Okay, the title for this book is Ang Landas Palabas no Nobela, which is roughly translates to the way out of the novel, and it is a work of critical literary theory, and he talks about chronotopes and in Rizal's Elfili, Noli Me Tangere and Elfil Bastusi. And he talks about the various ways out of those two novels and what those two novels, how those two novels play into, I'd like to say the like how those two novels informed the shape of narratives in Philippine fiction, and how those two novels laid the groundwork for like they're the two fictions that precede various other works, and they have to some degree influence major works of Philippine fiction over the years. And yeah, this book is a study of that phenomenon, I could say. Another one of those, I don't know too much about it, but I'm very much interested in reading this after I've at least reread the Noli and Elfili, because those were required readings during high school, but then we've only ever glimpsed those in subjects, and I really want to see how therein weaves his critical lens in those two novels with this book right here. So this is Ang Landas Palabas ng Nobela. And that is all for today, folks. And thank you so much for tuning in to Gravity's Random. I will be posting. I'll try to post as often as I can, but let's say 1 to 2 videos a month could work with my schedule and all of that. So yeah, I very much look forward to hearing from you what you've thought about these books that I've mentioned, or if you have any standouts here, or if you could recommend any other titles to me, that'd be wonderful. So yeah, for now, like and subscribe, and I hope to see more of you soon. Later.